Chapter 28. The Calm Before. 22 April 1992, the next morning found Harry, Theo and Blaise sitting comfortably on a large bench in the foyer in front of the Great Hall. The commotion and buzz of their fellow snakes, all of whom for some reason were early risers today, had the Slytherin trio up early as well, but while breakfast had already begun, Harry didn't want to go in just yet. He'd spent the better part of a week avoiding Hermione and Neville while focused on his Draco problem, but he'd missed his two Gryffindor friends, and so he waited patiently for them to come down. Theo and Blaise sat with him under privacy charm as they discussed the events from the night before.
So let's just go over this one more time, if just for my own peace of mind,
said Theo.
Draco is now actively bound and obligated not only to refrain from trying to get me in trouble with Father, but to also to do anything and everything he reasonably can to protect me from any harm, whether from Father or from any other source, by any means short of endangering his own life. Right,
Harry said.
You can't make someone take an unbreakable vow that will require them to deliberately sacrifice their own life for another, or even face a substantial risk of death in doing so, or I wouldn't have even given him that much wiggle room. But he can't actively do anything to endanger you, nor can he passively stand by while you're in danger, unless he genuinely believes that trying to save you will get him killed. There's probably a loophole in there, but I trust that you're smarter than Draco, so he'll never be the one to find it. Anyway, Draco is also bound not to attempt to manipulate you or control you, or seek revenge against you by threatening the health or safety any other person. Right, again, he can still theoretically hurt people, but he can't do it for the express purpose of getting at me somehow. Again, you can't make an open-ended vow not to hurt anyone or to never commit a crime. Otherwise, they'd just make every wizard and witch take such a vow once they turn 11, and we'd be living in a utopia.
Theo nodded thoughtfully at that. His life would be much happier if he lived in such a utopia.
And he can't deliberately insult anyone on the basis of blood purity or blood politics. He can't say mudblood or blood traitor as an insult to anyone, either to their face or when talking about them in the presence of anyone who he knows finds those terms offensive. Yep,
said Harry with a smirk.
I did leave him the power to use those terms when he's by himself or surrounded by fellow bigots. I'm not a complete monster.
The three boys laughed.
There are a few more minor clauses, but that's most of it. There's only so much that you can put in an unbreakable vow before it collapses under the weight of its own magic. Right,
said Blaise dryly.
Is that why you didn't put in any requirements, that he refrain from directly threatening the health and safety of you personally? No, that got left out intentionally. It would have made things too easy. That,
said Theo archly,
is the single most idiotically Gryffindorish thing you've ever said.
Harry snorted.
Take it up with Nidhogg, he insisted, and I'll need his vote to claim the Hydra throne later, so I went along with it. He said if I'm not going to kill my enemy after all the time I spent plotting it, then I shouldn't be allowed to just neuter him. Also, he says I need a strong rival within my age cohort or I'll get soft. I thought Jim was your rival,
said Theo.
He said a strong rival,
Harry said dryly, causing the other two boys to snicker. Said Blaise speculatively. You could always neuter Malfoy and then pick a fight with Zachariah Smith, the Dark Prince of Hufflepuff. All three found that idea hilarious. Still laughing, Harry noticed Hermione and Neville walking down the hall in their direction. The three Slytherins stood as Harry dispelled the privacy charm. The two Gryffindors walked up somewhat nervously, but Harry gave them both a smile.
Hermione, Neville, it's good to see you again. It's been a long week. A long, complicated, demanding week. I've missed you both.
Hermione ran forward and hugged him, much to his surprise.
I've missed you too, Harry, and I'm so sorry for being so obnoxious to you last week. I was just so concerned about Hagrid and I let it get to me. Can you forgive me?
There's nothing to forgive, Hermione,
he said reassuringly.
I was stressed out over some house matters myself, and it made me snappish, but they're resolved now. Are they things you can talk about now that they're resolved, or is it still Slytherin stuff?
Asked Neville.
Still Slytherin stuff, but nothing we need to worry about anymore. Now I can join Hermione in obsessing over exams.
Hermione batted playfully at Harry's arm in response to that. Then, Blaise leaned in and muttered.
Malfoy, 3 o'clock.
Harry looked at him strangely and then glanced at his watch. Blaise gave him a look of consternation and then jerked his head towards the approaching Draco. Neville and Hermione saw the boy coming as well, and both grimaced.
Well, that's probably our cue to leave.
Said Neville.
Nonsense,
Said Harry confidently. He probably just wants to wish us all a good morning. The other 4 students looked at Harry as though he'd gone mad. Their surprise was only compounded when Draco actually did walk up and say cheerfully, "Good morning, Harry, Theo and Blaise, and to you as well, Mr. Longbottom and Miss Granger." Harry immediately wished Draco good morning as well, as did the others a few seconds later after the shock wore off.
Miss Granger.
Draco continued with a slightly nervous smile.
Might I have a moment of your time?
She blinked repeatedly and then looked to an equally surprised Neville.
Oh, it's quite all right if we speak in front of your friends. An apology that must be rendered in secrecy is hardly an apology at all, as my father would say.
And apology,
Said Hermione in confusion.
Yes, sir.
Said Draco with what certainly seemed to be sincerity.
You must understand, I was raised in a very insular pureblood household with very little knowledge of or experience of Muggles, and I was raised by 2 parents who were themselves similarly raised in similar insular environments, etc., going back several generations. Consequently, I came to Hogwarts with a great many preconceived notions about Muggle-borns such as yourself, notions which were grounded in ignorance and, dare I say it, bigotry. Fortunately, recent conversations with Harry here have led me to reconsider my former views. I see now that it was foolish of me to disregard the potential of you and your fellow Muggle-born students simply because you were raised in a non-wizarding environment. Worse, I see that it was churlish and boorish of me to demean witches and wizards such as yourself for those same reasons, and that such prejudice is unworthy of the House of Malfoy. Thus, I tender to you my most sincere and abject apologies for my prior conduct towards you, and hope that after this, we may start anew with one another.
Harry brutally suppressed the desire to laugh, not at Draco, but at the thunderstruck reactions of his friends. Blaise nudged him and mouthed minor clauses. Harry gave a small nod. Finally, Hermione shook her head to clear it.
your gracious apology is accepted, Mr. Malfoy. I too hope we can begin anew and develop some sort of friendship.
She finished somewhat lamely.
Please, Miss Granger, call me Draco.
It's only if you will call me Hermione.
She said weakly.
Certainly, now there is one other matter I would like to discuss while I'm here. I know that exams are approaching and you are undoubtedly short for time, but my 2 good friends, Gregory Goyle and Vincent Crabbe, have been struggling with some of their school work. If you have any free time in your schedule, I wonder if you might be amenable to tutoring them for a few weeks. I would be happy to pay for your time, say 4 galleons an hour for the both of them.
At that, the Muggleborn's eyes goggled. Depending on how many tutoring sessions they needed, that could be a substantial sum of money. Oh, I mean Draco, I couldn't possibly. Then, Harry coughed loudly to cover his take it. She glanced at him for a second in mild frustration and then looked back at Draco. That is, I couldn't possibly refuse such generosity. Mr. Goyle and Mr. Crabbe are fortunate to have you as a friend. Draco smiled again, and once again it looked relatively sincere. You're very kind. I'll allow you their schedules, and we'll arrange for you to meet with them at your convenience. He put out his hand. She did likewise. Then he took her hand gently and kissed it on the knuckles. Until then, Hermione. After he left, Hermione turned to Harry in shock. What was that about?
If a pureblood of higher social standing offers you money for a task, and you turn him down and offer to do it for less, it turns it into an offer of charity on your part. Under some circumstances, that can be taken as an insult to the pureblood.
No, not that, I means everything.
She exclaimed.
Yeah.
Said a flummoxed Neville.
This is beyond the universe of possible things. As I said, it's been a long and complicated week. Beyond that, I can't say anything except that Draco should be, mostly decent, at least for the foreseeable future. Enjoy it while we can.
Neville looked like he wanted to ask more questions, but Hermione just chose to accept this new development as one more bit of weirdness. Well, now that we're back together, what are your plans for this evening after dinner?
Miss Granger.
Said Harry, who suddenly put his hand over his heart.
How very forward of you. You're not trying to make Mr. Malfoy jealous, are you?
She punched him in the shoulder and called him a prat. Harry laughed. Okay, no, I've no plans right now, what's up?
I'd like your help on a project. I want to see if there's a way to get our parchments to talk.
To talk what to each other?
Yes, well, I mean, I'll send a message to your parchment, only instead of you reading it, you'll actually hear my voice.
This time it was Harry's turn to be goggle-eyed. You're making telephones out of paper. Yes, she smiled. Isn't magic wonderful? In retrospect, that dreamy expression on his friend's face should have been the first clue it would all end in tears. 19 May 1992, naturally, it couldn't possibly be that easy. Over the course of the next several weeks, Hermione